The part where the initial argument that I made was that if he gives a hypothetical that includes a state based on the definition that you came to the debate with, it would make sense that that one would engage with tests to their
Yeah.
consistency. That's where we.
But he should.
That's where we went off the rails.
But it should just be
Wait,
just change it to federal.
Let me
Just change it to federal.
I just let you talk forever, please. The argument is about whether or not his definition can be tested on consistency with examples like a state, not like Andrew Wilson himself, whether or not he was right in the way that he did it, or whether or not one always ought to do this. But in general, if one goes to a debate to argue insurrection, it makes sense that one would challenge them on that definition, and that they might use a state example, and that it would still fit.
No. First of all, so just to be clear, Tom, Stephen explicitly said that what his definition was, and Andrew did not contest the definition, right? At no point did Andrew say that, give a reason why, other than its broadness and scope, that you shouldn't take that definition and onboard it. And so there's, if Stephen says, well, the scope of my definition is limited to federal systems, on what grounds would Andrew have to contest that and say, and debate it? If he's not willing to engage in the language philosophy arguments about what the
definition should be. Insurrection, or are we just fighting over a definition right now?
Well, I don't know. It's the problem is somehow Andrew has tricked people, and for some reason Tom thinks it's like a valid argument that if you when you have a debate over...
I am not justifying Andrew's argument for the 1000th time. I am not justifying his argument nor his debate.
Okay, so the fact that you think that you're asking valid questions by saying, wouldn't it be valid when you're going into a debate to torture test the definition of one aspect of one part of the prompt? Wouldn't that be a legitimate way to conduct yourself for 3 hours? Means that you're giving far more credence to his argument than any sane human actually should, okay? If somebody wants to come in and say that you're using a wholly incoherent definition that we can't even comport to reality, then you probably shouldn't have even accepted the debate. Or you should have said, let's change the prompt. Does Destiny have a consistent definition of insurrection? Or can insurrection even be defined adequately? Or is there even a good conceptual understanding of insurrection such that we could ever say it? These would all be valid prompts, okay? If somebody were to challenge you to a debate and they were to say, I want to have a debate on whether or not Harvey Weinstein raped, or whether or not some streamer raped some person, and you spent 3 hours debating, and your position was actually nobody can rape anybody unless they say, I'm going to rape you first. Nobody would say, well, actually, it's really good to debate on the definition of word. That's bullshit, okay? I provided a definition multiple times. He was unhappy with it, and he engaged in a lot of tomfoolery to try to say, not invoking you, just as this expression, right? He engaged in a lot of bullshit, looping arguments over and over again, saying the same dumb shit because he didn't like my definition, and then he refused to provide one for himself ever. This is not a legitimate conversation that's being done in good faith, and the idea that I should be expected to have a definition that would survive a torture test in all 50 states when we came to debate a federal insurrection on federal grounds is just ridiculous.
I think it would. I just want to be clear. I think it would. I think that definition that you provide
it might, but I don't know. I'm not going to overly broaden it.
I would like to state my contention was not with justifying anything Andrew did. It's something Destiny said that I disagree with. He said it in that debate. I'm challenging what Destiny said.
What is the thing that he said that you disagree with?
Yeah, wait, what do you disagree with exactly?
He doesn't need to engage with arguments or consistency tests that have to do with states.
Okay, wait, let's just do this. Wait.
We're talking about January 6th.
Okay, wait, let's just do this. Okay, let's just broker around, okay? So the debate is January 6th an insurrection? I say, I think it's insurrection because of blah, blah, blah. And you go, what's the definition of insurrection? I go, I think that an insurrection, I think that for January 6th, I think it has to meet these 4 points. And then you go, what? The next part is you would say, what? I give him my definition of insurrection.
And if he's challenging your definition,
okay.
What about Black Lives Matter?
No, wait. Go ahead, Tom. Make your challenge.
Let's say I have my own definition, and now I'm saying, but I think yours isn't going to apply consistently. So now I'm going to give you examples. They might be happening in states.
And then I would say, this. I would say, okay, hold on. I only came here to talk about a federal insurrection. I'm not talking about an insurrection in a state.
I would say, is it in your definition that your definition is only federal?
He just added
I could say, sure, yeah. I'll bootstrap it. Sure, I'll say, okay, sure, yeah. I'm going to say this only applies in federal circumstances. That's my definition.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, I would.
But that's what he did.
Yeah. Well, He did later on down the line, and the only reason that I brought up the part earlier is that I was thinking that is like the game that that Andrew was playing there. But yes, I was only challenging the idea that I ought not engage with this argument because it has to do with states and not January.
No, you just granted that was a fine thing to do. So what he just told you is the scope of my definition only applies to states. Now you can have like an underlying argument for why that's stupid, but you'd have to provide him. You can say, well, no, your definition for insurrection should be consistent between states and federal government. But I didn't hear an argument either from you or Andrew on that point. Now, as it happens, I think it is, but you need to provide an argument for why the definition of insurrection should be the same as between a federal and state sort of quality government.
I agree with you. I also think it should, but I think personally, yes, I would just change.
Well, sorry, what's your normative argument that the definition of insurrection should be the same between both federal and state?
Bro, this is why like any politician, any party makes fun of this, bro. This is like going in circles.
Wait, hold on, wait. To be clear, the reason why this is going in it is going in circles. The reason why this is going in circles is because conservatives are indefensible. Because conservatives have absolutely no way to defend the heinous and unbelievable shit that they've concocted on this country. So all of it will devolve into autistic hand-wringing over definitional shit like this, while they will, on the other side of their mouth, say that like Podesta and Hillary Clinton are raping children in the basement of a pizza fucking a pizza parlor. This is the reason why all these things ground out here, right? January 6th and the insurrection on J6 is indefensible, and they know it, and it will always be autistic games like this. And for some reason, people like TomFoolery will play defense for this side by going like, well, I think it's actually okay to ask for consistency here and blah, 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 blah. When that's fucking bullshit. It was obvious that Andrew was operating in bad faith for the entirety of that conversation, and the idea that I need to come with some understanding of how it would apply evenly through all states and through all time and through all dimensions or whatever is also bullshit. Again, any good faith conversation, they would have done away with it in one sentence. Okay, fine, we'll just say it only applies for federal right now. Here's my definition. Here's why I think it's better. Or you could have said, here's why you don't apply it to states. This is why I think it fails. He didn't do any of that. It was an autistic definitional torture test. That was it.
Earlier, that if you said, hey, look, I did this because of the way that Andrew was engaging, but in general, I agree that like it should be able to survive consistency tests and that state examples weren't all that ridiculous, then I would have been fine with that. But what I argued with was the principle that you stated that I don't have to engage with this because it's not relevant.
No. Wait. Hold on. I'm saying I don't have to engage with that because but the definition of an insurrection federally doesn't have to be the same as an insurrection statewide. Andrew never made that argument. If Andrew would have given me a
talk more about the insurrection than just this definition.
Again, Andrew is making that argument. I'm making
if Andrew, wait. If you're making that argument, okay, and Andrew wasn't, then you can't critique me for something I said in the debate against Andrew. Andrew didn't make that argument. If Andrew would have said, well, actually, I think it's essential for these reasons why insurrection needs to be the exact same between a state and the federal government, well then, okay, well now he's pushed me a little bit, and then we can engage, I guess, in that type of conversation, and then maybe we could fight there. But he never made that argument.
Did I not say it to you? If you said, yes, I was doing this just because of the dynamic with Andrew and that if it was
that's not, sorry,
that's
not what's happening, Tom.
Did I not say that?
Tom, that's not what's happening. What Steven just told you is, Steven explicitly in this conversation, I know because I watched it, I listened to it, he said, my definition is only going to cover federal things. That is him signaling that even if it's not in his initial 4, he's clarifying afterwards that the scope of it only covers federal related insurrections. And now Andrew has the opportunity, if he wanted to, there's nothing illegitimate about that, Tom, right? You agree that if you have a definition that only applies federal, at that point, there's nothing illegitimate for him to say, my definition only covers federal. Agreed?
Right. And
agreed, yes or no?
Yes,
you agree. So nothing improper has happened, right?
I disagree, and I'm saying that I think if you're going,
you disagree with what?
It's not specified. If it's not specified that it is about a federal like law or something that ought to be federal.
He specified it. Did you agree that he specified it? Yes or no?
I agree that he specified that.
Okay. So there's nothing. You agree there's nothing improper then?
And I'm saying, no, you just said a minute ago that it makes sense that somebody would challenge him on whether or not he can only apply this to a federal examples. And so I'm saying that is what I'm doing. That's literally what I'm doing.
That's not what happened in the conversation, and you're citing to a thing.
I agree. I'm not justifying.
Okay, so what's your argument? Why should I
say this?
So Tom, what's your argument? Tom, what's your argument? Why should the definition between insurrection as to federal versus state, why should they be the exact same?
In this debate, if it was specifically about federal law, I would agree that you would not need to engage with any other examples because, yes, now the law would change state by state. But in this debate, it is about the definition that Destiny is bringing. How he came up with that is up to him. But whether or not that can apply to other things is based on the prompt of the debate. And the debate is about what is an insurrection. And so he should be able to engage with other hypotheticals that use states.
Do you agree that the debate topic was actually whether January 6th was an insurrection, not what was an insurrection?
Correct. But obviously they're
so you agree that was the prompt, and so it would make sense, right, in that context. I mean, I'm not saying that I agree that it should be limited, but there's nothing wrong or incorrect or improper to have a definition of insurrection that is limited to federal things. In fact, Section 3 is one such definition. It's a insurrection against the Constitution of the United States. That's an example of a definition of insurrection that, by its own terms, is explicitly only as to federal things. And so you're aware, Stephen explicitly cites the Section 3 as his source for the meaning of the word insurrection. And so even if I don't agree that he should ultimately be like state versus federal. There's a big difference there. I don't think that. But just to be 100% clear.
100% clear also, I didn't necessarily say there was a huge difference. I just said I'm not prepared to defend that at this time.
Yes, I think that's true. And the citation to Section 3 is one example of a definition that is purely federal. And so there's nothing like incoherent about having a definition of insurrection applicable to certain places at certain times. For example, you would never question, like if Stephen tried to bring in the definition of insurrection from Bangladesh or from fucking some other country, a Pacific Island country or some shit, you would be like, well, hang on. Would an insurrection be the same if it's in Bangladesh? Or like, we really need to stress test you, Stephen. Like, is this an insurrection in like a failed state where there's no government?
It's quite the same, is it?
It's absolutely the same.
It's absolutely the same.
No, hold on. The question is what you call it.
Can I really quickly just give the reason why Andrew was arguing this way? Like, can I just, he was arguing this way because of the BLM riots, right? He thinks you're offloading all of the complexity of the question of, is the BLM riots something that needs to be condemned, or should we disqualify politicians who supported it? That's what he's trying to say, right? But he's too autistic to, when Destiny says, we're just only applying this federally, he's too autistic to go, well, I want to do the BLM riots comparison.
He can do federal things. He can do federal hypos on BLM. Don't you agree? There's tons of federal hypos. There's the White House riot outside the White House. There's federal courthouses that were attacked in BLM. There's Chaz, where I'm sure there's federal installations.
I don't know what
wait, because there's a great example. Okay, he brought up. Listen, if he wanted to do that comparison, he could have, but even on the examples that he brought up, he failed. He brought up Chaz, and he asked me if I thought that was an insurrection against the federal government. And my question was, how did Chaz start? What happened? What were the statements made? He didn't have a single fact about Chaz. Nothing. So if he wanted to come to make that argument, he could have. However, and I think I even said it in the debate, I might have even said it earlier against TomFoolery, the only thing that argument would achieve would be convincing me, if he laid out anything that satisfied my elements, that I would say, well, Chaz was probably an insurrection then. But his assumption was, for some incredibly fucking weird reason, because I'm not known as some staunch defender of BLM or fucking Chaz or lefties, he assumed that if he could have pushed me on enough examples that I would change my definition of insurrection. What, like I'm going to sit here and defend the rioting that I'm so famous for defending, that I'm going to defend Chaz that I'm such a huge fan of?
It's insurrection if it fits the definition.
That I what?
Yeah.
But you would just accept that it was an insurrection if it fit your definition.
100%.
Potentially, sure, yeah.
Who was doing it?
Just think, because how we get definitions isn't like based on consistency or outcomes. It's the use of words. That's whether it's historical use, technical use, or public use. If you want to have a conversation about what words should mean, have that argument. That wasn't an argument that he was willing to engage in. One example of that is he said, I think it fits riot better. I think the definition that you're providing fits riot better. What's the definition of riot that he provided? Why should the definition of riot, even if it were the same with insurrection, why are they mutually exclusive? Why should we have to, like all these are normative questions about what words ought to mean, whether we should have synonyms, whether, I have a duty to define a term that I'm introducing to compare to insurrection by saying that it's overlapping. And so all of these things about what words should mean was not addressed by Andrew, and it was complete bullshit.
Correct. Wait.
The feeling behind what Tom's saying and the feeling behind what Andrew was trying to say, but they failed to actually state it correctly.
No. Hold on. No. Right. Again, I am not justifying Andrew's arguments. I don't know why we're going back to Andrew's arguments. If you guys want to argue with Andrew, that's fine. Do that somewhere else. I was here saying I personally disagree with what it is that Destiny stated in that debate, and I personally am disagreeing with him. And then Pisco came in here and told me that I was wrong, but then he stated exactly what it is that I said, which is I agree. Destiny ought to engage with stress testing the definition.
Okay, wait. Wait.
Hold on, wait. Let me finish. And then it should apply to states. And so if he's agreeing with that, that is my entire position, and that he agrees with my entire position, like the whole thing. Yes.
Okay, wait. Okay, wait, hold on. Wait, we can. This is so simple and so quick. Okay, so very quickly, very concisely, what is it that you disagreed with in my debate on Jan 6th?
When you said that I don't need to engage with those hypotheticals because they're not federal. I'm talking about January 6th. That's a federal case.
Okay, so you don't think it was fair for me to come prepared with an insurrection definition as it applies to the U.S. government? You think that I needed to have it be consistent between all the states as well? Why?
I think generally if I'm going to go into a debate that's asking me what is an insurrection, I'm going to go in with the definition that I think is best, and that's going to be like actually fit what it is that I think an insurrection is, unless I'm arguing that it is that they ought to have been charged with this or that they could have been charged with this or anything.
Is it illegitimate? Is it illegitimate? Sure. Is it illegitimate for me to believe, we're not talking about anything about charges also, I don't know why that's even being discussed. You're taking an Andrew Wilson bait there. But why is it unfair for me to personally believe that an insurrection can only happen against the federal government?
It's not, but I would want to hear that argument then.
Okay, wait. You disagreed though. You said that my argument was wrong. You said I made an incorrect statement. So then that's not true then. What you mean to say is you wish you would have heard me expand on something more? Or what if I tell you that...
Hold on, wait. I would argue with you, but I would want to know why you think that, and I would want to hear that argument. It's not wrong to have that position, but I would want to understand.
Okay, wait, hold on. Wait, Pisco, just let me finish this. Okay, so then let's say, so then initially you're not sure what my position is because I say I'm only here to argue January 6th. Okay, now I'm telling you right now I'm saying that my insurrection definition might scale down to every single state. It might, but I'm not sure because I didn't do the research on how every single state deals with an insurrection, or if insurrection has ever in the history and tradition of the United States been thought of as a thing that can happen against a state. That's why I don't apply my definition of insurrection to states. Okay. But if you want to have a debate on that, I can do research on that. We can come back. Is that an acceptable statement?
Yep. Okay, so we keep getting to this part, and then
is it acceptable? Yes or no?
No, wait. Let him answer. He can answer. Go ahead. We get to this part. Let him answer.
Okay. So, if you want to make it about state and federal, this is what I keep saying, is that I feel like it would have to apply to law in order for there to be a difference between state and federal. And in order for you to start including those differences, or in order for it to be something that changes anything.
Fuck this. Answer the question.
Wait, stop! Cutting him off. Okay, wait, Tom, okay. Why can't I have a difference in state and federal things that aren't found like in law?
If you think that okay. If you're saying, hey, this is a federal insurrection, and I think this is so different from anything that could ever possibly happen in states that I can't engage with something that's happening in states because I think it's different in kind, then yes, I would want to know what the difference in kind is, because I would probably still disagree with that even the definition that you gave initially is still what I would call an insurrection, and that's the same.
What if I would just call those things fine? Then I would call those like state insurrections, but it's of a different character. It's a state insurrection. It's different.
Right, and I'm asking, what is the difference in kind outside of the fact that it's...
He's not ready to talk about it.
I wouldn't be ready to talk about that. I would have to do research into the history of like insurrections against...
Is that acceptable? Yes or no? Answer the question.
Hold on. Wait. But I'm asking, why would you think that there is a difference to where you would need to go do research on?
He doesn't know.
Wait. The reason. Hold on. No, wait. Stop. Okay, I'm answering your question. Ignore Pisco. He's a red herring. Okay. The answer that I would give you is, you understand that there is a substantial difference between the federal government and state governments. Do you understand that?
Yes, and so if the law is included, I would include the governments as well.
No, hold on, wait. We're not talking about the law, okay? It has nothing to do with the law.
Okay, you're saying what it's being committed on. The insurrection.
No, hold on, stop. You're running way ahead. I'm just asking you. You recognize there's a difference between the United States federal government versus a state government, correct?
There's a difference.
Okay, so there's and there could be plenty of differences between those governments. The state of Nebraska has a single body legislature, unicameral, as opposed to every other state. I think that's bicameral legislatures, right? Or in Louisiana, I think that's the only state that still uses like a type of like a common law or something, like some weird system from like fucking France, right? That different states have different ways of doing laws. They might have different ways of organizing their governments. They might have different ways for governors appointing their officers. There might be all sorts of different things about these states, okay? Do you understand that? That's different from the federal government.
Yes.
Okay. You understand that all the states have their own state constitutions as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. If all of that is true, do you think it's fair for me to say that I don't know if you can perform an insurrection against a state meaningfully in the same way that you would against the United States federal government? I'm not sure if that's the case. I would have to do reading and research into that.
So, based on your definition that you gave, I think as long as we believe states have governmental proceedings, or they have laws, or they have government officials, that there is nothing that we could come up with, as long as we already know that much. We at least have that much information.
You're filibustering. Answer the question.
No, he's answering. Let him answer. Let him answer. Stop.
Pisco.
Ignore him. He's baiting you. Go.
There's nothing that could come up with that would actually change this in kind to where we would need something that would actually say, this is the thing that actually makes me think that I might need something more.
Okay. What if I did some research, okay? And what if I found out that in all 50 states, there was actually an explicit law that said that if you attack or threaten any public official, you can be kicked out of the state. And because of that law that exists in all 50 states, states don't actually have any statutes or any regulations relating to insurrection because they've never needed them. Because if anybody engaged in any violent action against a state official, they're automatically kicked out of the state. What if that was a law? Would that mean that we don't really need a definition, or we don't even need the concept of insurrection in any state? Is that possible?
No, we can have the concept one way or the other. Like and this is why I keep saying that, like, if we're talking about law, then that argument matters now. If the debate is about law, then that argument matters now. But if we're not, and you're giving your concept of insurrection, that I would need a difference in kind that would change this. And if you make it about law, well, then the debate would probably need to be about the law, because that's the kind of difference that you're mentioning.
Okay, then if that's the line of argument that you want to go down, then what's wrong with me just incorporating my definition of insurrection down to all 50 states?
I'm not understanding. There wouldn't.
Then let's say that I just say, okay, well, actually, the definition that I gave, the 4 elements for insurrection, I would just apply that evenly then across all 50 states.
Yeah, and then
that's what he wanted you to do.
Sure. Stress testing it with examples from states. Then
okay, then what would one example that you would think of, the hardest example that you would stress test it in a state against?
I don't know. I'm just disagreeing with the idea that you wouldn't engage with an example from a state because January 6th happened on federal property.
Well, hold on. The reason why I said I wouldn't engage with that idea is because I didn't do research for states. I only did research for the federal government, and because insurrection.
I would need a difference in kind in order for that to make sense, and we just went down the line.
No.
But if there's not a difference in kind, that you don't believe between a state or federal government, then that means that there shouldn't be a difference in kind between an example that you could give of the federal government and an example you could give of the state. If there is no difference in kind between these two entities, then wouldn't every single thing necessarily carry over from a federal hypothesis to a state hypothesis if they're literally the exact same things?
So what I said was, if I was Andrew, I would have just said, okay, same example, just pretend it was federal, and it wouldn't be a difference. But yeah, again, I wasn't defending Andrew. I was just disagreeing with the idea that what you gave as an argument for why you couldn't engage with one versus the other didn't actually make sense.
Hold on, wait. When you say that it didn't make sense, you understand that law and historical precedents and procedure, that this stuff is like pretty complicated, right? And it's a little bit arrogant of you, no offense or whatever. It would be arrogant of me to say this, right? To say that well, if this works for a federal insurrection, I know for a fact it would work in all the states, right? You understand there's like a very high level of arrogance there for you to just assume it's either a failure of imagination or an overestimation of legal understanding. Say well, obviously it would carry over, right?
I don't understand why we're looping on this. I've challenged this like 10 times now, and you haven't challenged my challenge on this. So
because your challenge is because your challenge is that you don't see a your challenge was that you don't see a difference in kind. But that's not a challenge. That's just a failure of imagination on your end.
and a failure to understand basic civics. It's obvious that the dual systems of sovereignty that we have in this country, states are very different than the federal government. States are governments of unlimited powers. Federal governments are governments of limited powers. States, come on, man, they're completely different.
That's not the argument that I made. That's not the argument that
you said. There's no difference in kind between federal governments and state governments. Fair?
Oh my goodness.
Is that what you said? Yes or no?
No.
Is that what you said? Okay, repeat what you said.
No, that is not what. So I haven't said anything yet.
Okay. You did say something before, right?
If this was about the law, then including differences in federal law and state law would now matter. If the argument is not about law, then bringing up these differences to say why you can't.
Even his
wait, just real quick. Also, wait, real quick. It wasn't a difference between federal and state law. It was a difference in federal and state composition. I already told you. These are like different things. The federal government is not just a copy paste of the state government, but with just different laws.
I understand, but what I said was, when it comes to your definition, the parts that we need for this definition to work, those parts are all there. We do have the officials, we do have laws, we do have proceedings, we do have the things that you would need in order for this definition to fit across the board. And so there is not a difference that we could come up with. As long as we know those things, there's not a difference that you could give me.
100% there could be.
Are you saying that there's examples and definitions that we could apply to make this more clear of a argument for you?
Yeah, because the thing that's confusing me is that if you're going to say that you can't see any differences in kind, then that would just mean that I would just say okay, then I agree with you, but then you don't even have to give me state hypotheticals, because any federal hypothetical should carry over 1-to-1 if there's no difference in kind, and my answer should be the exact same as it would be for the federal circumstance.
And I've already agreed with that, and I'm asking you to agree with the initial statement that you could engage with the state examples as well.
But I don't need to for a debate on a federal. Because this is about my debate with Andrew Wilson on January 6th. I don't need what.
Your argument for why you can't is that it's about January 6th, and I'm saying that doesn't actually matter. That doesn't actually apply.
Do you agree that I could trap myself if I agree to an overly broad definition of insurrection, and because I'm not prepared, because I didn't do research on all 50 states for the history, that it would be stupid of me to accept that? I can't do that in a debate because I wouldn't be able to honestly answer that, right?
Well, it's possible. So do you, when you went into this debate, did you already know that there were officials in every state, that there are
there could be different history. Did you hear what he just said?
Hold on. Sorry.
There could be.
Stop. Wait, let Tom talk. Go, Tom, say your thing again. What would you say? Did I go in with what?
When you're in that debate, you already have the knowledge that there are officials in every state, there are laws in every state, and there are proceedings in every state.
But I've never seen insurrection applied to a state. There might be a reason for that. I'm not arrogant enough to assume that just because I haven't seen a thing, it must be possible. I'm just going to apply a copy-paste. There might be a reason for that. I didn't do any state research, and January 6th wasn't about a state thing, so I didn't do any of the history or research there. It might be that I Google it and I very quickly find out, well, insurrection has actually never been seen as a state issue because insurrection is incorporated up to the federal level, where if you're insurrecting against the state government, it's automatically counted as insurrecting against a federal thing because of the 19th Amendment and incorporation or something. I don't know. Fuck. Well, maybe it is. So in that case, fuck me.
The whole thing that I've understood here is whenever we talk about January 6th or the insurrection that happened at the federal capital, right? DC is a federal piece of land, right?
Yep.
That insurrection only ever happened in the District of Columbia. If it had happened in the state of Maryland or Virginia or anything, then yes, maybe a state definition would be required. But since the insurrection never left federal land, why even entertain this concept?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's such a weird torture test of a definition.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I still don't know how that applies to this.
What applies to this? What are you talking about?
You are saying that you went and did research on historical events to come up with your definition. But I'm saying that even after doing that, your definition would still obviously apply because there is no difference in kind that would change any part of your definition. So
that's your hold on, wait. That's your opinion.
John Smith. Yes, it is. It is. So
okay,
correct.
That's fine. But also hold on. But to be clear,
let me give this example real quick, please. You could say, did you not know that John Smith lives in Georgia and he doesn't live in the District of Columbia? How could I apply this definition when John Smith lives in that state and not this state? Okay, that is a difference, but it's not a difference that would change anything about insurrection.
Okay. And I understand, however, you're offering, no offense, but as somebody with absolutely no legal education, you're offering me this opinion that there's no difference in kind when determining whether or not an insurrection would apply to a state. I don't know if that's true. I know you don't have the background to make that statement. That's a statement that you're making. What?
we're debating law, that would matter.
We're not debating law. None of this is a legal debate on whether or not somebody should have been charged with a crime. None of this has to do with like So when you say there's no difference in kind, that's your opinion. You're offering that opinion. I don't know if that's true. And I haven't seen a single historian, a single scholar, a single lawmaker. I haven't seen anybody else put forth that argument that there is no difference in kind between a state or federal government insofar as insurrection is concerned. If that was the case, then I would say, oh, okay, well then fine, then you're right. But that's just your opinion.
Okay. Well, the thing, Destiny, even with that, hold on. No. Even with the, let me explain. No. You literally speak way too much. Let me finish.
Please, for the love of fucking God.
When you mentioned the Tom Smith part, right? If we're talking about Tom Smith crossing like state lines, don't we already all agree that when something is crossed or that kind of situation happens, it becomes a federal case anyways? What does location or somebody's residence of state have to do with anything? They're in a federal area. They have crossed the state lines. Therefore, this whole situation becomes a federal government situation, not a state level. The state has nothing to do with it. When looking up historical records of fact regarding state law, that's just Destiny looking up how this was treated in the past in a federal sense, never how it happened at the state or in the municipal sense. This is how the government is structured in the U.S. I mean, I'm fucking from outside the country, and I can already fucking get this together. I assume you're living in the U.S. and you give a shit. I don't know how you don't understand this at all.
It's just that wasn't relevant at all. Okay, Destiny, can you give me an example then of of something that would be different with a proceeding or an official or a law that would change whether or not you think you would apply the definition?
No, I can't think of any off the top of my head.
So, Tom, let me give you an example.
Wait. Do you accept that answer? That I can't think of any off the top of my head.
I can accept that to an extent, but I also can't imagine a possibility of there being something that would change that.
Have you gone to law school?
No.
Do you have an extensive legal background or history?
No, but I think that if you're going to dismiss an argument, I would want an argument outside of there could possibly be something that could possibly change this, and maybe aliens are engaging in government somewhere.
Okay, this is just it's retarded.
Tom.
Like the idea that that I have to give a definition for something that's happening on federal property that would carry through 1-to-1 in every single state, and that's like such an obvious thing is just it's. Okay, Peace can do the rest. It's in my opinion, I think that 99% of this, and I'm going to repeat this till the day that I die. I just think nobody has any idea the structure of the U.S. government or the structure of the U.S. legal system, the structure of fucking anything. To utter a statement where it's like, well, I can't even think of a single possible difference because it seems like at least the words match on this thing, so it must be exactly the same. I have no idea, bro. I've read too much and I've studied too much of this bullshit now to be so arrogant that I would just assume, well, this would obviously carry over to 1-to-1 because I can't think of anything that would be a difference between A and B. I have no fucking idea. I don't actually know. I wouldn't know until I would do the research. Maybe after a day of studying, maybe okay, I don't believe there's a difference in kind. But the reason why I'm believing that now is because I've studied and I've read the opinions of legal scholars or historians or lawmakers at the time that have made those statements. I wouldn't just say, oh, well, fucking TomFoolery said there's no fucking difference, or fucking Destiny, the college music dropout, said there's no difference. So therefore, the definition must carry through. That's fucking retarded. If somebody wants to debate that, it's all on my final point, and then you can fight with Pisco or me or whatever. The final point is, if somebody wanted to debate that in good faith, then you need to make that clear. Then the prompt of the debate should be, does Destiny's definition of insurrection apply throughout every single state, territory, military base, federal government of the United States? Not, does J6 qualify as an insurrection, but also we're going to torture test this to make sure that in Rick and Morty Universe C-136, the same definition would apply. That's fucking ridiculous, and that standard is absurd, and no sane human being would ever meet that standard in any debate ever. That's absurd.
Okay, I don't. Again, yes, I don't necessarily disagree with that.
You do disagree.
I do think that if you're going into a debate where the question is this an insurrection? We all know the part that's going to be disagreed on isn't whether or not January 6th is a date or whether or not people on January 6th went into the Capitol, but whether or not we call what it is that happened there an insurrection. And so
okay,
Tom. Hold on, I just got one more thing just to close it up. I promise. I promise, and then I want to hear what you have to say. If I make the argument in that debate that there isn't a difference in kind, I would expect that it would be on you to give a difference in kind in order for why you wouldn't engage with it.
Tom, does Nigeria have processes and laws and officials?
Yes.
So Nigeria has processes, laws, people that live there, correct?
Yes.
Should Destiny come prepared to discuss the Nigerian definition of insurrection? Yes or no?
Not the Nigerian definition.
Why not? It has what's the difference in kind?
Whether or not his definition and what happens in Nigeria, he should be able to.
Sorry. I asked the question. Should Destiny come prepared? Yes or no to discuss whether or not his insurrection that his definition is given applies in Nigeria?
Yes.
He should come. Okay, and he should be prepared to discuss whether or not his insurrection applies in Australia.
Yes.
And in Japan.
Yes. Everywhere.
And in Star Trek universe.
Yes, everywhere.
Are you being serious?
Yes, if I say, hey, I think somebody... No, I'm not trolling. If I say somebody shot somebody, according to my definition, now you can make up any hypothetical with aliens or whatever you want. I'm still going to, as long as it fits my definition.
Yes, this is so bad faith. I'm going to ask you just as an honest question, like somebody outside this, what part of the insurrection happened? What part of this insurrection? What part of this insurrection happened in the state of Maryland or the state of Virginia?
Wait, what?
What part of this insurrection happened in the state of Maryland or the state of Virginia specifically?
It technically,
actually, some amounts did. There were people who were in Virginia, staying there, communicating within Virginia, having weapons near Virginia, Maryland. The Maryland, Virginia National Guard were sent by order of the governor. But it doesn't matter. Okay,
the insurrection. That if we're going to use the definition of this violent uprising, right? Did it happen in the state of Maryland or Virginia, or did it happen in the federal district of Washington, D.C.? Okay, so then the entire definition of insurrection only applies in the Washington, D.C. area, which is a federal zone. And so this whole argument is just a looping nonsense.
Okay,
it has
so
nothing to do.
I have a question.
Hey, why are you letting him get away from the Nigeria and Star Trek examples? This is stupid. Wait, no, you have to bite more.
No, I'm going back to that. I'm going back to that right now. So I said, if somebody asks me if this person got shot and I give them a definition of shooting somebody, and then they give me an example that happened on Mars with aliens, and I say, yes, that's still shooting somebody. Why is that? Because I'm assuming you would as well. So why is that different from insurrection? What is the difference?
When your definition, when the citation for a term of art, which this is a term of art, insurrection is a term of art, when Stephen is signaling to you that his kind of meta, philosophy of language is grounded in history, and specifically a history connected to the Constitution, he is signaling to you the kinds of things that are going into his definition, the inputs. And that input is specifically history. That's why he's citing court cases that occurred in the 1860s. That's why he's citing specific justices that spoke about what insurrection meant. He's grounding out his definition in a particular history. That's his language philosophy as applied to insurrection. It has to do with historical use, okay? I would agree with you if he's giving a kind of definition of shooting that is with, and the kind of definition he's using doesn't have anything to do with history and is not grounded at all in what people used to use the word as, maybe it would be more universal. But when Stephen is signaling to you that his definition is based on historical usage because this is a term of art connected to the Constitution, that should tell you that it's relevant what the kind of denominator is the denominator the United States of America or Nigeria? Because of course, all of the evidence that Stephen is providing to justify his definition, that is justices in the United States, judges in the United States, writings in the United States, actions and events in the United States, would not apply in Nigeria. Do you agree with that, right? Yes or no?
I do.
Yes or no? Do you agree with that?
Research. Yes, I disagree. I agree that
if all the foundation of the research, if all the foundation of the research pertains to a particular denominator, and you try to segregate it from its context and bring it over into Nigeria, it might still apply, right? And maybe you could even apply, you could say, all right, use the federal definition for a state or use the federal definition for Nigeria. And then he could try to do the best there. But what he is saying honestly is, I haven't done that historical analysis, that linguistic analysis, the use analysis as applied to states. Now, as it happens, I agree that the definition would be the same between the states, essentially the same between the states and the federal. But he's just being honest and saying, I've done the research as it relates to Section 3 and the federal definition. And so that's what I would like to talk about. Please, there's nothing wrong with that. And it's stupid to think that he should be prepared for the Nigerian insurrection case.
Yeah, and this is such a bad faith argument. Why even bring up Nigeria or aliens or whatever?
Hold on. It's not bad faith at all. This is how debates work, and we do it all the time. We like if I go into a debate and I'm supposed to.
We're discussing the United States, nothing else outside the United States. This is not an international affair. If I go into a debate
and I'm supposed to debate abortion, and we start getting into like what is life, and I tell them, well, my definition for life, I got all of this from reading Aristotle, and then now they start.
Okay, then you're debating philosophy.
Would you call grass life, or would you call
what aspect of
wait. Also, wait. To be clear, wait, Tom. In that debate, you would expect them to give a definition of life too, though, right? Like, if they were just to like endlessly needle and torture your definition of life, that probably wouldn't be a good debate.
Again, I agree with your criticisms of Andrew, and I think that he should have had a position. Yes.
Okay. Can I ask just a quick question, super quick example?
Can I finish my example? Real quick?
Because it wasn't relevant. Listen, just a quick example, okay?
It is relevant. It's the entire point.
Okay. If I were to say, okay, let's say that I were to walk up to somebody, okay? Let's say I were to find the president and I were to trap him in a room, okay? And I were to draw a sword and I would throw a sword at him and I would say, we're about to fight to the death, okay? And I've practiced for this fight my whole life. Would it be fair to characterize that as an assassination?
Give it one more time.
I find the president, lock him in a room, throw him a sword, I have a sword, and I say, we're fighting to the death, okay? I know I'm going to win this fight. Would it be fair to characterize that as an assassination?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, never mind. All right, I don't know.
Okay. Tom, do you agree that January 6th was an insurrection?
Let me. Yes, 100%.
Okay, perfect.
Yes, of course. Okay, so when we're, if I'm in a debate about abortion and I say, okay, well, all of my understanding about life comes from Aristotle. And then they start bringing up like, well, what about grass? What about rocks? Are these things life? And then I say, I'm sorry, Aristotle didn't address whether or not those things are life. I can't defend like the stringency on my definition because Aristotle didn't tell me. And so even though I've given you my definition for this debate, I'm not able to engage with the stress testing of it.
Tom, it's an easy answer.
Hold on, wait, just let me please let me fix it. Just let me, okay.
So I get what you're trying to say.
Understand. Okay, so the whole time I've been trying to understand what the difference is for this and what it is for the debate that you guys are giving an example of in his research for it.
Yeah, so if someone purports to have a universal definition of a word, then you'd be right. It'd have to apply to every single context all the time.
What kind of a debate is this? Is it philosophical or legal?
It's about language. It's about the philosophy of language, really, and definitions right now. And you know, because no one's really contesting the facts. I agree with Muta. That's lame and bullshit.
A legal debate.
I agreed. Yeah. So what you're saying is like, well, what if your definition is limited? Well, that's sorry. Language is just an expression of like human communication. Sometimes certain definitions will only apply for a given context, as Stephen just described to you. And if Stephen is explicitly saying, no, this definition only fits in this context because my justification for this definition only runs to a certain amount, right? He's justified this definition only for America under his framework of language philosophy. Just like, you know, the definition of woman might be different. And you agree with this, right? You might have a different definition of women in like one place versus another. And because, you know, what is language if not usage, right? And so what Stephen is telling you is, and it's a completely direct signal, that I only have justification, right? I only have purchase. I only have...
The tactic Andrew uses what I have to call debate stupid / crazy making. Surface level, and it sounds logical, but it only serves to try and make you look stupid if you don't know about examples, chop, or make you look crazy at face value, like with a weird example. Maybe, sure.
Life, I can only conceive of life in the carbon life kind of mode because I just haven't done research on the other kind of things, or I haven't done it into like viruses or whatever. I don't know what the equivalent is. Then it would be fine to limit your definition to a given context so long as you're clear about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, unless you're saying that he has to have a universal definition of insurrection that applies all the time everywhere. What you could do if you wanted to stress test him is say, well, okay, now apply this American definition, apply that definition into Nigeria. And you could, if you wanted to, apply that definition to the States or apply it to Nigeria. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're asking him directly, would an event in Nigeria be an insurrection? The next question is, under whose vision of insurrection?
And it's kind of funny, just as an ultra quick aside, it's funny because not Lonerbox, I'm sorry. I think Vegan Gains was just in here earlier asking me, like, would you make hate speech laws illegal or something for like Hitler or something? And I think my response was like, in the United States, no, I don't think I would. And he was like, why does that matter if it's in the United States? Well, even when you talk about a concept like freedom of speech, well, in my mind, freedom of speech is a concept that exists within the contours outlined by the American Constitution and then the whole institutions we've developed in the United States to support said freedom of speech and all of the different freedoms that we enjoy. I don't know if I would have that same concept in a totally different country under a totally different governmental system with a totally different type of people. I'm not sure if I would. Just depends. I
agree with that. I 100% agree with that. And so what Pisco just said is kind of what I'm getting at, is that I like because you said earlier, like, obviously Destiny can say, I don't want to engage with state hypotheticals, but you would have to give an argument for why he ought to. And so now that was my argument for why he ought to. And that if he says, well, my stuff is just limited, I would probably just say, okay, so then like, or even Pisco just a second ago, you said, well, according to what definition? According to what? And I would say, according to your definition that you already brought up. So even though this example exists in a state, I'm still asking it according to your definition.
Tom, that would have been an easy way. That's a good point. If Andrew wanted to, he could have said either he could have changed the hypothetical to be a federal. We all agree on that. Or he could have said, well, I know your definition only applies to federal things, but I'd like you to apply it to a state thing. I understand that you don't have this, but like, can we examine this, the state context using the federal definition, understanding that it might have a different answer, but I just want to see how it interacts with this situation, and I want to use the facts from the situation and try to incorporate your definition. I think that would be legitimate too. But ultimately, this is like such a dumb point to get hung up on and to even have this long of a conversation about, because it would be so easy to sidestep it and to come up with some example that might test Steven, right? And just use it. Like, use a BLM example.
I agree with this, but again, I was not defending Andrew. I'm making my argument, and I did do that. And then you came in and said that it was stupid. And so when you're asking, hey, well, should Destiny be prepared to engage with Nigerian examples? Well, I say yes, but the question would be, according to what? Well, according to his definition, it doesn't matter where it's happening. It could happen on Mars. According to his definition, he can still
apply that point, Tom, if that was your point, I'm okay with that point. If your point is he should be able to apply that to a fact pattern, but it sounded like what you're saying is he needs to come ready to discuss, like,
not different, like, context and everything.
but understand the limit, the kind of it's not the best. You're not gonna get the best kind of conclusion out of that. So he might say, under the federal definition, that would be an insurrection in Nigeria, but that's not what applies there, and so I'm not going to call it an insurrection because that would be kind of inapposite, or it would be anachronistic, or for whatever reason improper for me to call them actually an insurrection. And so I don't want to do that right now. Under the federal definition, they would, but under whatever standard they have, it might be different. And so just understand the limitation there. So that's all fine. But I understood you to be saying, like, he needs to be ready to discuss all the different standards, and he needs to have one universal standard that applies in every place all the time.
No, I specifically said it just according to his definition. He already has his definition.
Okay, then I misunderstood you. Then I'm sorry.
Can apply no matter what, and that's why I gave the example. I'm going to give a definition of shooting. It doesn't matter if it's happening on Mars. My definition can still apply because they're asking me according to my definition.
Okay, but hold on, wait. But shooting is not the same type of thing as an insurrection, right? Like, your definition of shooting.
What context we're giving. It depends, because if we're talking about law, then it's going to be a very different thing. If we're talking about, like, killing somebody versus murdering somebody versus, like, these are all going to be different things. But once I give my definition and you give an example and say, according to your definition, does this example fit it? I should be able to answer any example.
Well, but hold on, no, wait, stop. You understand, okay, that when we use words and when we say language, you understand that the language that we use implies...
That isn't what happened here.
Hold on,
I don't know why...
I know this is why this is so fucking retarded. I understand, which is why I don't like that. If Tom wanted to just talk about this particular thing, he could do it, but couching it in this debate makes it so unbelievably stupid, okay? But that's a whole nother conversation. No, wait. Hold on. I'm just saying that...
I just want to say good night. You have a good rest of the night, everyone.
I love you. Wait, Muta, come back tomorrow, okay? And I want to chat with you. I love you, okay?
I love you, buddy.
Okay.
Take care, guys.
What I'm saying is that, like, shooting, okay? Shooting is a different kind of thing than an insurrection, okay? And that shooting is a much more simple relationship between two things, right? We can define shooting in a way that almost universally applies to almost every single particular thing, almost, right? However, even for shooting, we might be able to imagine some things that don't count as shooting, right? For instance, let's say that I have a gun and I pull the trigger and I'm in outer space and the bullet has a greater mass than I do. When I pull that trigger and I shoot, right, I'm the one that goes back and the bullet actually stays still from the perspective of the bullet at least, although taking from that, right? Would you consider that shooting if the bullet isn't moving because it's so huge that I'm the one that goes back? Does that kind of shooting the bullet?
Yeah, I don't know. That would...
Okay, yeah. So all I'm saying is that like when we say things, when you say shooting, we're assuming that the bullet is probably smaller than the person, obviously. We're assuming that it's happening on planet Earth and we have normal, ordinary gravity and rules of physics are applying, right? There's a whole bunch of things that are applying there, okay? There's a whole bunch of things that make it so that like, but generally I agree with you that shooting applies across almost every frame of reference we can imagine on Earth, like pretty easily, okay? Insurrection refers to a relationship between a group of people. It generally implies some form of government. It generally implies some type of like legal structure. It implies some form of like coordinated communication that's like there's so much that's implied in insurrection that when you say I can't imagine it was in kind, because of all the relational stuff going on here, it's hard to imagine if I would just easily copy paste that. It's possible that it would work, but I would be uncomfortable without doing research. Much the same that the example that I gave earlier about if I were to walk into a president to challenge to a fight to the death, knowing that I'm going to win in this, and I think most people would, I don't know why you said no, but most people say, yeah, you're basically an assassination, right? Well, what if when somebody goes up to Khal Drogo and says, I want to fight, okay? And in their culture, the customs are, well, the strongest person can challenge anybody to a fight or kill them at any time. And when they kill them, now they become the leader. Well, we probably wouldn't call that an assassination, right? It's a far different character because of the relationship between people that challenge the leader for power. Much the same that the way that you protest or engage in like violent behavior against a federal government might be different than how you engage in it against a state government. I just don't know because I haven't done that research. It's possible that it would be the exact same, but if I haven't done the research, I'm not confident enough to stake that out in the middle of a debate when that's not even material to the conversation because it was about a insurrection on against a federal entity.
But you could try to fit it, right?
So,
like,
I possibly may have like confused this by couching it in this debate, but in this debate is where you made the statement, and so that's just what I'm challenging is what you said there, and I'm challenging the statement, and I feel like I did say a ton of times,
but here's my yeah, I understand what you're saying. I got it. Here's my issue though. Sure, I got it. Here's my issue, okay? And then here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to tell you exactly what would have happened. It might still happen, and you're going to deny both, but I know it would have happened 1 billion%. This is my issue: is you would have come in and you would have asked me that, and if I would have engaged, this is why I, for instance, refuse to condemn anything in front of fucking conservatives, okay? If you would have come in and asked me that, and I would have engaged with you in a vacuum in good faith, and I would have said, oh, okay, Tom, would my definition of insurrection apply down to states? Yeah, I'd say actually probably, almost for sure. Yeah, it probably would. Yeah. Then what happens is you leave here, and then you go talk to Andrew Wilson about the debate, and Andrew Wilson goes, huh, interesting. So Destiny conceded that point immediately to you. However, here are some examples where I don't actually think it would fit at all. And he might have even researched some that would completely obliterate the fact that I would incorporate the federal insurrection of the state insurrection. Well, now I've lost a debate by proxy because you've come in asking a question that was contextually brought up in another debate, and then you've gotten an answer from me that now Andrew Wilson is going to harp on as a reason why he won a particular debate because I wasn't willing to make the same concession to him. That's why when you ask me the context of the other debate, it doesn't work. Yeah.
Wait, Tom, can I give you an example?
Fair enough. That makes sense.
Tom, I want to give you an example of this specific thing, specifically with Andrew, specifically with the definition of insurrection when I had a conversation with him. So he brings up the question of, well, what if American Indians, what if they did the kind of constitutive acts that would constitute an insurrection, but it was American Indians as opposed to citizens? And I said, I don't think that American Indians at the time of the 14th Amendment were considered American citizens. And I think in order to be an insurrection, it's different than like treason and an invasion. And so I think that American Indians doing the same kind of thing, unless they're kind of in coordination with American citizens, I don't think that would be an insurrection. And he says, well, actually, Pisco, in the the Insurrection Act specifically calls out American Indians. I was like, oh, and in the moment I was like, oh, well, I guess then if that's what it says, then I was wrong about that, and American Indians could do an insurrection. And in that moment, I didn't have the specific knowledge to talk about American Indians and the relationship in terms of insurrection versus invasion. Because remember, there's a difference between invasion and insurrection in terms of who's doing the thing. And I did not have the history on American Indians. So I take the time, I go back, and I'm licking my wounds. I'm like, ugh, I'm glad that this happened because, like, now I can do the research. I'm glad because I think it shows the wiseness of a methodologically, like, historically grounded approach because I can be proved wrong or proved right on something, and I'm just going to lick my wounds and, like, actually look into it. Well, as it turns out, I looked into it, and the first calling forth acts, the insurrection acts, all refer to invasions of American Indians. They call out American Indians as invaders, not as insurrection people. And so when I looked into it, even though the American Indians are listed in the Insurrection Act, they were listed in the Insurrection Act as pertains to invaders. And that would go to indicate that, maybe historically these American Indians weren't capable, supposing they weren't citizens, of insurrection. And that shows you the pitfalls of just assuming. In that moment, I took Andrew at good faith that like, oh, these people are listed in the Insurrection Act, therefore insurrection must apply to them. But when I dug a little deeper, I'm like, oh no, they're listed there, but they are put in the same category as foreign invaders, and so it's actually a little different. It's more complicated, and now I need to look to like specific case law and maybe invocations of how American Indians were invoked vis-a-vis insurrection, and so you can understand how this gets very complicated out of hand. To say nothing about how it might be complicated with the states. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
Yeah, so I think that makes sense. I think these are complicated issues, and especially if Stephen is signaling that his approach is grounded in history. That is right away an indication that the kind of things that you're going to need to disprove his definition on its own terms, or to try to bring in some other complicated factors, it will require him to re-examine the different factors that he's using, to the extent that you want him to faithfully apply those principles in the context. Now, you could ask him to try to map on his already said definition to this context, but you might have like problems, like he just explained to you with the Khal Drogo example, or how I just explained with the American Indian, where I can apply it, but it isn't actually accurate in terms of what it would be called. And so that's the only thing I would say, is that you have to be careful when you're assuming that things will apply between contexts. But in this case, thankfully, I think it does.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I just real quick, it's not important, but I would have sworn if the person throws, I thought that's why you said it. They throw the other person a sword and then they want to fight them. I would assume now they're able to defend themselves, and this is like a little bit different than an assassination.
Bro, come on. If I were to trap you in a room and I were to throw you a knife and I were to say we're going to fight, it would be murder.
I'm an expert knife guy.
Yeah, sure. It's just I thought that's
forced
why you
combat. It's not mutual,
make
right?
Sure, it's not. Yeah, it's not. I guess it does like fit the definition. It's just I thought that's why you added the part that you're giving him a sword instead of just trapping him in a room and killing him. But
well, hang on a second. If you threw like a 15th century flintlock pistol at Nancy Pelosi while she's sleeping and undergoing cancer treatment, and you walk in with an AR-15 and you say, "Defend yourself," do you think that would be an assassination?
Yeah, probably. That's what I'm saying, is that like these
Yeah.
obviously fit the definitions. It's just I thought he was purposely trying to make it not an assassination by giving him a sword, and so that's the only reason I answered that way. Yeah, I didn't mean to like avoid your example.
I'm sorry, I got triggered at this topic, so to the extent that I was rude to you, maybe I didn't.
It's all good.
I do think that was Destiny's weakest point in the debate.
I felt like everybody was kind of arguing against something I wasn't saying, and I was kind of getting annoyed too. So my bad.
I mean, I was clear. I think that Destiny clearly won the debate, but I do think that was his weakest point, because
of course,
the examples that he was looking at, a lot of them were state, and it does apply. But he was focused on the federal, so I'll give him that.
Wait, which ones were state?
So the examples like of some of the insurrections that you looked at, wait, let me think. Nat Turner's rebellion, I think, was state. And
that was the slave guy, right? Didn't they just like kill like civilians and shit? Wasn't that just kind of like fuck that?
Let's look at this one. Let's look.
You're just targeting civilians. That goes down to domestic terrorism.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think that I don't even know if that would qualify as a rebellion or an insurrection. I think they were literally just killing slave owners and shit as they went down. That's my recollection, but I could be wrong.
It's something that you cite, or it's cited in your paper at the very least, as an insurrection, and so you got to be careful. You can't count out history if you just don't like it, right? If your whole thing is grounded in history and what it was considered.
Sure. We can go back and
look. Local militias came. So the local militias, I'm assuming, might have been related to state militias, right? And so that could be state, potentially. Right? Maybe, state militias are state. So if you're attacking the militia, that would be kind of a state thing. But again, it's a minor point, and overall, the defects in Andrew's whole approach were so apparent for everyone to see. I encourage people who care about this to look at my post, because it really is every aspect of what he was doing. I think the worst thing that he did, number one, was citing to the courts, not knowing that SCOTUS actually has upheld a disqualification for January 6th related to insurrection. Now, you don't know about that because it's not Trump. but it was a state official. The court said that, like, yeah, Congress has to enact legislation for federal officials, but it allowed and upheld a state disqualification for January 6th as an insurrection.
Also, just as a quick thing, I don't believe that in that paper, I don't think Nat Turner's revolt was ever mentioned as an insurrection. I don't think that.
Oh, then maybe it was another.
It was Shays' Rebellion, the Whiskey Insurrection, the Burr Insurrection, and John Brown's raid.
Okay.
But okay.
I'll look into it. The other thing that
wait, Pisco. I have a really important question for you. Just what do you think of the idea of directly threatening versus threatening by proxy? So like the idea that you have to be directly threatening the lawmakers. So I think one thing that kind of separates January 6th from a lot of the other examples people use, and the abortion clinic example that Andrew used, is that on January 6th, they're directly threatening the lawmakers. Do you think that is a requirement? Do you think that should be a requirement? That you're like directly applying pressure?
To me, all that matters is your intent. So we intimidation, right? Someone can be subjectively intimidated, but when we say you intimidated someone, legally, this is my belief, you need to have intended it, right? And so if people come into a particular place without the intention of putting people in fear of bodily injury, then I do not think it is accurate to say that they are intimidating. Now, I understand colloquially we'd say it's intimidating, but you have to be able to prove the intention, right? All of this requires intentionality, a volitional act. So just coming in numbers by itself is not enough, right? You need to intend to intimidate. That's what intimidation is under the law in terms of like finding you guilty of something. If you send a bunch of letters by proxy, a big letter campaign, I believe, and with the intention to intimidate people, and you just have a bunch of people, right? More than one. Maybe there's some question because an insurrection needs to be out in the open. So maybe it wouldn't be an insurrection.
Can I ask you a quick question on that? Because this is something I said. I don't know if you agree with me. If the exact same events had happened on January 5th or January 7th, would you agree with me that you probably wouldn't call it an insurrection at that point?
I would still probably call it an insurrection if it was done for the same purpose. Remember that.
But if they're not there because they're not there now to stop the certification of the vote.
Okay, so that's the problem, right, Stephen? So the question is, what was the purpose? That's always going to be the key question. You're correct. If they did it on a different day, I'm about to say it, right? If they did it on a different day, it's much weaker evidence that they had that purpose, right? That's just a question of the weight of the evidence. And so, but there's nothing impossible if it happened on January 5th.
Sure, if they go on January 5th with the intention to like burn down the Congress building so they can't certify vote. Sure,
So it all has to do with the purpose, and you might have easy cases where the purpose is obvious, like it was on January 6th, and hard cases. But that doesn't defeat the principle, right? And you could have a disagreement about what a public purpose even is, right? Is stealing a bunch of things to give to the rich, give to the poor, but also to steal some for yourself, a mixed motive kind of case, right? Is that a public purpose? Oh, maybe that's a hard one. But there are clear cases, obvious cases. The sports riot example is a clear case where nobody would say that being angry that your sports team lost and blowing up your town because you're out of anger is a public purpose. No reasonable person would think that. And Andrew was not able to contend with the hypothetical. And Stephen was correct. If you're able to show even one case where riot does not overlap insurrection, then you agree by definition that they're not the same definition, right? And there's a lot of different cases you can come up with. If you had a riot based on a bunch of people who injected venom from Batman or like a bunch of drugs and they're coked out of their heads and they're just starting a riot, that would not be for a public purpose. And by the way, even if it were true that riot overlapped completely with insurrection, that doesn't disprove the definition of insurrection, okay? We have such things as synonyms in this world, okay? And so just showing that it's perfectly overlaps wouldn't change anything. And plus,
I would disagree with that. If it perfectly overlaps, that would make every riot an insurrection, right?
But hang on a second. So you agree that synonyms, if riot is a synonym for insurrection, then that's just what the words mean, right? With the meaning of the words or the usage of the words.
Yeah, but I clearly wouldn't want to call every single riot an insurrection.
I understand that. I'm just saying that if it were true that they I don't believe they at all perfectly overlap. Mm-hmm. But if it were true, it wouldn't disprove that insurrection means this. I'm just letting you know that.
I mean, as a matter of pure logics, you're correct. But I mean, it would obviously be incredibly unsatisfying.
I'm going to give you more, right? Mm-hmm. So in order to say this argument or this definition sucks because it perfectly overlaps with riot, or riot better fits insurrection, you need to provide a definition of riot. You understand that, right? You can't say insurrection better fits riot and just leave it there. it better fits riot because why? Well, because riot means what? Right? You need to have an independently justified definition of riot. Otherwise, you're just talking in circles. The only definition he gave of riot was your definition of insurrection. But how can he say that your definition of insurrection better fits riot if his definition of riot is, completely
at that
circular?
point, I would say, okay, you can say that, true. Okay, fine. If it's the same definition, then you can say that they're the same, but we're going to call it insurrection for the sake of this debate.
No, but it doesn't even make sense. Like,
agreed with me.
The argument, it better fits riot. What does that mean? Like, right? Like, what does it mean it better fits riot?
Like, I think, honestly, the guy that came in on the call who did the rape, sexual assault thing at the end, that was like the best example. That, let's say you were debating somebody over whether or not something was a rape and they didn't have a definition for rape, but they did have a definition for sexual assault. Well, basically every single thing that you say about rape is going to apply to sexual assault. So the person should say, well, I don't think that rape is a real thing. I would just use sexual assault to explain this. It literally incorporates all of this. Like, that's not a...
It's the other way around, because every rape is a sexual assault, but not every sexual assault is a rape. And so in this case... Wait. Hold
on. Wait.
Part of
Careful, because he would just say that it would. Actually, I don't even know if that's true.
No, Stephen, it doesn't even make sense.
No,
like, if you were to say, how can you say every riot would be an insurrection if you don't know what riot means?
No, that's why I'm saying it's the other way around. Every insurrection has riot as part of it, just as every rape has a sexual assault.
Okay, so let's take what you just said, Tom. Right? Every insurrection has a riot part of it. Imagine that Andrew were to say that. Doesn't he need to provide a definition of what a riot is? How does he know that?
Now he's going to give a definition of riot.
So what is the definition of riot, right?
Aspects of, well, it's just not just a definition, but a definition that excludes aspects of insurrection according to Destiny's definition.
And so
he gave his definition of riot was the same as his insurrection.
So he is saying, Stephen, your definition of insurrection better fits the term riot. And the answer is why? Why does it better fit the term riot? You could give an answer for this, right? An answer to this could be...
That's what I'm saying.
Your definition...
A definition of riot that has... that meets the standards, but it's missing aspects of what Destiny's calling.
You're not understanding. Sorry, Tom. So this is what I'm trying to say. Okay, if you say that the elements that you're using, Stephen, better fit riot, a cogent response would be like, because back in the day, or currently, or technically, people considered riots to have those elements. For example, this was the riot, that was the riot, this was the riot
of insurrection. Because now he's saying it doesn't fit insurrection.
Tom, I need you to really listen carefully to me, okay?
No, hold on. Just let me finish this. He would have to give a definition of both riot and insurrection. He would, because now
he would not need to give one of insurrection. You're not following. Tom, his critique, right, is that Stephen's definition of insurrection better maps onto the term riot, but he doesn't give a rationale. Why does the term insurrection better fit riot? And the only thing you could say is, well, though that definition is more in keeping with the usage of the term riot, right? Like, he would have to give the same kind of evidence that Stephen's providing. Well, because look, here's a case where those elements were used to define riot here. These elements, were present in all these riots, and they were all considered riots. And so what the argument that was missing from Andrew is the because. Well, the definition of that Stephen provides for insurrection better fits riot because look at all these riots, and they've all had this fit. And look at all these insurrections that didn't have that fit. But of course, he wasn't engaging with Stephen's historical examples, so he couldn't make the case that the definition that Stephen provided wasn't fitting those examples and weren't therefore fitting the usage. And he didn't provide a definition of riot or cases of riots from where you could determine the usage of it. And so all of it is a humongous problem of failing to demonstrate why the definition that Stephen provides better fits the term riot. He wasn't able to demonstrate that, and that's
true. Just to be clear, the second part of what you just said is what I was saying, is that yes, he would have to also engage with Destiny's definition, to where he would have a definition of not just riot, but also he has to engage with a definition of insurrection to
no. He needs to engage with Stephen's historical examples, right? He needs so when he says to Stephen, for example, no one would consider this hippie example an insurrection. He's opening the door to say, oh, really? Would you consider Whiskey Rebellion an insurrection? But Andrew wasn't answering those questions. Once you say your definition is too broad, it's perfectly valid. You've opened the door for Stephen saying It's the appropriate broadness. It's the appropriate broadness because anything less broad would be too narrow. It would not capture in this historical usage. But he would not answer those cases and those histories and say, well, do you think this is an insurrection? Do you agree that any definition we provide has to include this case? He was only willing to make the argument on broadness. And that, of course, leaves Stephen very little room to really justify why it needs to be that broad. Because if you're not going to engage in the historical examples, basically the reason the definition is as broad as it is, and I don't think it's too broad, I think it's appropriately broad, is because everyone agrees that situations where very few people die can be an insurrection. Everyone agrees one of the most historically understood examples is the Whiskey Rebellion. During that, it wasn't the transfer of power, it wasn't to overthrow the government, and the definition, essentially, it was to the actions there were to stop the collection of taxes. And so he didn't want to deal with those hypotheticals because then he has to say, no, the Whiskey Rebellion wasn't an insurrection. I know better than the people at the time. Or, the attack on Fort Sumter by itself wasn't an insurrection. Or the Shays Rebellion wasn't an insurrection. He didn't want to have to say that. What he eventually, and he'll never agree to this debate, and Rob Noor won't either, because their definition is something like insurrection is having a good chance, a violent attempt with a good chance to overthrow the government. But under that, and that's literally what I just said is the literal definition that Rob Noor provided in a recent stream, right? The insurrection is a violent attempt with a good chance to overthrow the government. Under that definition, right, that he provided, which is so narrow, the Civil War wouldn't even be an insurrection. And so any definition they provide is going to suffer from those problems, and that's why they don't provide one, or they don't want to interrogate it. Anyway, that's my spiel.
All right, y'all got anything else for me?
Nope, it's always fun to scream at people, though. I love you.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Y'all have a good night.
Wait, are you talking to Andrew tonight?
No, I was supposed to, but it went late, and now he's got to get on a flight, so I'll probably talk to him either tomorrow or the day after.
Okay. Well, good luck.
All right, bye.
Peace out. Yo, what up, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm just chilling. Oh my God! Next week it'll get published. I did a debate with Prager. Whew, I think he got annihilated. That guy was.
You did, or he did?
I think he did. We'll see.
What was it about?
Just like the dangers of a Trump presidency. I think I was bringing up like the fact that like conservatives are like anti-vax and like want to destroy the country, and he was like, well, let me get your opinion on this law. In California, 8-year-olds are now, if they tell the teacher they're trans, the teacher doesn't have to tell, the parent. I'm like,
bro.
Yeah, unironically, I was like, holy shit. But,
bro, do you think conservative women find Kamala Harris more likable than Trump?
I think it is entirely possible that you see a surprising divergence in women's support for Trump, even in conservative areas. Come election time, if the rhetoric doesn't change significantly, I think that's possible, yes. Yeah, I think that conservatives have become unhinged when it comes to, forget racism, right? Who cares if they have the black vote or not? But in the sexism against Kamala, I think it's become unhinged and disgusting. Yeah, holy shit.
They don't have a plan, bro.
Well, because the issue is all of their attacks before were personal attacks against Biden, and now they've got to shift to personal attacks against Kamala because they have no positive platform to build off of. Yeah.
And so they're going after being like, step parents aren't real parents.
That's crazy.
What else they say? Like, you fucked so many people. It's crazy. I feel like every ad that I've seen kind of against Harris gets me more pumped up to vote for her. And I imagine it just like fucking pumps up Gen Z.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. Why do you think he picked JD Vance? This guy seems like you know what? He kind of reminds me of DeSantis. he seems like a guy who's like, he's like trying to be like a legal dude. He's like trying to fight against like, well, I didn't mean that. That was out of context, and I'm doing my best. And it's like he just doesn't seem at all like a Trump type of dude.
Yeah, my guy has no riz. He wears eyeliner. Apparently, he posts videos of dolphins attempting to have sex with women. That's confirmed. Not the couch thing, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's an odd pick. He's deeply, deeply unpopular. Can you imagine? I don't know how much it would change, actually. I want your take.
Uh-oh.
If Trump had picked Nikki Haley. Formidable ticket.
I'm just trying. The problem is you're asking me to, bro, the Trumples are so far out there. I don't.
But
even
they would
know.
fall in line. They'd fall in line.
Yeah, they would.
You
If
don't
he endorsed Haley and Haley bent the knee hardcore, maybe yeah. Maybe yeah. If he brought on Haley, yeah. Where's she from again?
She's from the great state of South Carolina.
Uh-huh.
I think so. I think she was the governor there. Someone tell me I'm wrong. Tell me. Yeah, I think that would be a formidable ticket. I can't imagine betting the knee. Can you imagine?
They all do, don't they? Ted, after he called his dad the Zodiac Killer, didn't Ted make calls for him and phone paying for him?
Can we have a suicide pact?
No. But what would you...
If you ever bend the knee...
To Trump? Okay.
Oh, sorry, this would be a murder.
Jesus.
A murder pact. If either of us ever bends the knee to Trump...
Uh-huh. It'd be a force for evil. What,
It'd be like taking out Fredo onto the lake. What's your question? I can leave now.
Oh, no, you're good. No, the question is purple. Who do you think, no, Kamala has good choices for VP. Vance is so confusing to me.
Bashir, that's my pick right now. Or Walls. What's his name? Walls.
Okay.
Those are my picks. What about you?
I don't have any strong feeling right now, but.
Bro.
What?
You got to get involved.
For VP pick? I don't care. I'm not super
Gotta
invested.
get involved,
I'm not
bro.
super invested.
You can make the difference.
Oh yeah, she sees my tweet about it. You see, Pence just retweeting fucking AI videos of Kamala Harris. You see the richest man in the world who owns. You understand that like this is like the wet dream conservative conspiracy that the wealthiest man in the world buys a social media platform and starts tweeting out AI misinformation about political candidates. This is everything they thought George Soros
Pence
was.
Or Elon?
Is it what? I'm sorry. Did I say Pence? My bad. I meant Elon Musk.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, Pence he's an okay dude. But
you think he's an okay dude? I'm like, sometimes I look at Pence and Bill Barr and I'm like, you motherfuckers knew that. You knew this. He was up to no good. And I know you guys...
Pence and Barr resisted him at least. Like,
I agree. And I think that those are great American patriots at those moments.
Yeah.
But then I look at them from this, like, give them a little bombastic side eye. And I'm like, you knew this shit was messed up from the start. And you didn't say anything.
I don't know did anybody really know that he would be this fucking insane?
Bro.
I don't think any good faith person would have known. Like, if somebody would have asked you in 2016, do you think Trump is like literally not going to leave office if he loses? I don't think any good faith person would be like, yeah, I think he'd probably try to do this.
I remember writing an article at some point in my college newspaper about the threat of Trump because I had been like a big Bernie supporter in 2016.
No shame in that.
And you want? I'm gonna maybe admit something right now. This is an exclusive. Ready?
Okay.
Oof. I voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, 100%.
Okay.
But I fell for a little bit of the misinformation about her emails. I did.
I fell for so much anti-Hillary misinformation. The two positions, I was like, this lying cunt. Damn, I hated Hillary when I was a Bernie supporter. Yeah.
Yeah. But we were misled.
A lot.
She was innocent.
She was a good politician.
Totally innocent.
I don't know. I think there was definitely like a, what did Comey say? I think there was a pattern of kind of sloppiness at the State Department.
But criminal?
Not criminal.
I was like...
No, absolutely not criminal. Absolutely. Yeah. Remember, hey, you need to bring this up, okay? You remember that they deleted the emails to hide them, and it's because they were trying to cover up the crimes, right? You remember that, right? You remember that claim, right? Yeah. You remember that investigation was reopened because they found a ton of emails on the Wiener computer. Were any of those emails criminally, like... brought up? Were there crimes on that?
There might have been some more classified.
Yeah, but like, was she emailing secrets to anybody? And so, because wasn't that the reason she didn't delete emails just to hide some classified stuff, right? Didn't she delete them to cover up evidence of like actual severe wrongdoing? This is what happened,
right? So like, she did not order deletion of emails. There's no evidence that she ordered deletion of emails. Mm-hmm. It became found out that she had a private server where she was having all of her State Department communications, which I think at the time maybe violated some rules for sure. And so the State Department requested them back. And so what is often the case in litigation, you'll have lawyers who get paid by the hour, look through all these emails and mark them off as pertinent or not pertinent, okay? Mm-hmm. Or as like related to work or not related to work, responsive or not responsive. That's actually, if any lawyers are watching, they'll all tell you that they do this. That if they do any doc review, they'll mark things responsive, not responsive. And so what the lawyers did is they went through the emails. If it was work related, they purported to say responsive or not responsive. Obviously, it feels weird because she's deciding what's responsive and not responsive. At least that was a claim, right? And the emails that were considered by their own attorneys to be responsive were sent to the DOJ. That's about half of them, 50%, 30 or so, 8,000 emails. And the others were kept on the server. And then at a certain point in time, one of Clinton's lawyers implemented a automatic deletion policy. And that policy, even though it was put into effect, and there's email correspondence saying, hey, this is our new policy, I want you to follow it. The guy who was in charge of the server never did it until the subpoena came. And once the subpoena came, after that, he did it. And there's no evidence that he did it because he was trying to hide any particular emails. He wouldn't know like what the relevance were of these emails that were pertinent or not pertinent, but he deleted after the subpoena. But there's no evidence that either Clinton's lawyers ordered that deletion or Clinton herself. Sorry, that was like way too much time on this conspiracy.
Yeah, that's fine. I just like to say that I just think it's worth pointing out that the reason why it was said that she deleted so many of those emails intentionally was because she was hiding some malfeasance. Mm-hmm. But when they discovered a whole bunch of other emails, and then he made that fucking public announcement that they were reopening the investigation, it's not like in any of those emails, any of those lost emails that they'd found in another laptop on Wiener's laptop or his wife's laptop or whatever, that they found like a whole bunch of evidence of all that criminal conspiracy stuff that they were supposedly involved in.
Bro, I'm gonna make you feel really weird right now. Imagine you're James Comey. You're James Comey, right?
And I'm like, how can I fuck this country over?
No, stop. That decision in that moment, right? Like you're a time traveler and it's like you're in what's the movie? Interstellar. Mm-hmm. You're watching James Comey. You're seeing the future. You're seeing January 6th. You're seeing all this crazy shit that's happening. The Supreme Court picks. You're seeing all of it. It's all flashing ahead of you. And you see James Comey talking to his FBI being like, should I announce it publicly or not? How does that feel? That knowing that moment, that one decision by an FBI director could have such drastic implications for the rest of your life.
It was a lot. Although, like, I will say, as much as I think that it's so cringe and horrible that he did it or whatever, I'm sympathetic towards, because you understood. Wait, what do you think his fear was at the time?
His fear at the time was if they later found out that something was bad.
Exactly, yeah. Imagine the FBI was investigating, and then Hillary's elected president, and then 2 weeks later the FBI comes out and they're like, the president of the United States was selling like nuclear secrets to Russia, guys.
Oh, you break policy? You break policy?
I know, no, it's bad. But remember, at the end of the day, right, these institutions are like, they're fighting for their own legitimacy. Remember, this is kind of the argument you said about like the Supreme Court and Amy's like speech about like, we have to protect ourselves and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, you're an Amy simp now, huh? You like Amy a lot.
I like her a lot. You know what? Somebody even emailed me about that statement that she made about how the writing should turn down the temperature. And you know what?
Oh, you reverse yourself. You reversed me initially.
Oh, shit, did I? Okay, well, now I have to reverse. So this guy emailed me, and he pointed out, he was like, everything I said is 1,000,000% correct, but Amy didn't say that. Amy didn't say that she was making decisions based on what would be politically expedient for the United States. She said that the writings of the court shouldn't turn up the temperature. And that came after the
when it wasn't necessary, right?
Exactly. And she was saying that because of how the majority has written their majority opinion, it leaves the dissenters with a way to respond. And she said that the writings of these people shouldn't turn the temperature up, but turn it down.
Should never trust you. When has it been the case?
Yeah, exactly.
You've convinced me.
You have to wait. You have to wait for the email alerts to come through. Okay? Sometimes the email alerts turn me on things. I'm like, you know what? Okay. I feel like. Oh wait, one question that you asked me. Do you think that if this was a 5-4 court, do you think that Amy would be the swing vote or Gorsuch?
Yes, 100%.
Or do you think? Okay.
I think her concurrence in Trump v. United States would be the majority opinion.
Gotcha. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Or at least it would be the controlling opinion.
Sure.
Where it would govern things. My question for you is: there's some conspiracy theories that I've heard, and this is a little bit self-flagellating. That I've like mind controlled you, and that you didn't used to think it was a big deal, and I've steadily pushed you to the left to become a DNC shill operative, and I've sucked your soul out. You know that those rumors exist, right?
Oh, I didn't know that, but okay.
I basically, because I look at my Twitter replies, and they're like, yeah, if it weren't for you, that he never would have said this, or he wouldn't be arguing this. Be honest with yourself. Do you think I've pushed you to the left?
I have no idea. I don't, when I view you as arguing against me, honestly, I don't even view you as somebody to the left of me, because I feel like most of what we debate isn't like a policy moving in one direction or the other. Like, so for instance, let's say you've moved me on some things relating to law or legal stuff. Let's say, for instance, we debate on like whether or not the Electoral College, should be changed or something, or or packing the court. Like, would you be moving me to the left or the right there? I don't think I would really view it that way. So
I would say I'd be moving you more towards the DNC's position, right? Whatever that is. I guess
but I mean, a lot of people would already say, in some ways, I'm to the left of the DNC. So if you're moving me to the DNC's position, you're moving me like to the right.
In what way are you to the left of the DNC's position?
In what ways? Well, actually, I guess I'm not. I am absolutely in favor of a public option at a bare minimum for health insurance. But the DNC probably, I guess, would be, right. It's just the Republicans would keep them from doing it. I think they would. What the fuck? Honest to God, I haven't even. I'm obviously, I DNC show like crazy. I don't even know policy anymore because we just don't even talk about it. I'd probably be in favor of like probably less restrictive immigration than they would be. Maybe I don't really believe in protecting local domestic jobs as much as they do. But also
open borders. You're open borders, but big wall.
Yes. Big, like Trump said, I want a big, beautiful wall with a big, beautiful door for them to come in legally for, okay? That's what I like. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of making insta-kill borders that assassinate anybody trying to cross, but the process to immigrate would take you like fucking 2 months of paperwork. Yeah, if you're willing to come and fucking work it, you don't have a criminal record, you're instantly like, yeah, you're allowed to insure.
Once the big border wall is put up, legalize everyone who's here?
I would say at the very least, there should be a path to residency. At bare minimum, there should be a path to residency for sure. Maybe citizenship at some point. Yeah, sure, maybe, yeah.
Ban assault weapons.
I have to do more in like 2 hours, I 180'd on the Second Amendment. After that conversation where I read that Federalist, because when I read the Federalist paper about gun rights, somebody was like, "Oh, read this about gun rights." The whole Federalist paper was oriented about the federal government stealing, basically preventing states from organizing militias and shit. And after I read that Federalist paper, and then I reread the Second Amendment, I'm like, this is like clearly referring to a state not being taken over by the federal government. That's what it reads like to me now. It doesn't read anything at all having to do with like individuals having firearms. Like, I don't even know where you get that reading from now, but I could just be totally wrong. Now, admittedly, another dude, sent me a big ass fucking email about the history of like legislation and rulings relating to the Second Amendment. And basically every single thing, I think, had to do with...
is that a member of my Piscord? Is that the professional idiot?
Is his name Verstel?
I don't know about that. Why are you saying names?
Well, I don't know. Somebody fucking email. But I'm just saying that when this guy emailed me, he gave me a bunch of different like points where...
We just doxed someone together, if that's
just what?
We just doxed someone together, if what you said is correct.
Is that a real name?
I don't know.
If somebody gets doxed because I say the gamer name that they email me under, then get fucked, okay? But anyway, this guy emailed me a bunch of stuff too, and basically all of it in historical conversations around the Second Amendment, almost all of it seemed to be talking about like state militias and everything relating to that. And that even when you think about like the first 10 amendments that were added to the Constitution, right? I mean, you said it yourself, like incorporation, all of that came later. The first 10 amendments were there to protect the states against the federal government, right? We have Articles of Confederation, but now we want to have the federal government. And the Bill of Rights was there for the anti-federalists to say like, hey, listen, we promise the federal government's not going to come and fuck you over. What part of this? And then when you read the Second Amendment, right? Like, I used to think it was like so weirdly phrased and structured and kind of retarded, but no, it's not. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, right? Yeah, for the purpose of a state organizing a militia, the federal government's not going to come and tell a state you need to disarm, right? But the idea that this extended to like an individual private citizen, or at the best case, that it would prevent a state from depriving a citizen from a firearm. Like, maybe I could give this like the most charitable reading I see right now is you say like, okay, fine, the federal government can't take guns, but states sure as fuck can. Why would a well-regulated militia of an individual state to ensure the security of the state mean that a state can't ban some non-militia men from holding guns?
Okay, now that's how I'll get you. Do you think a state should ban assault weapons?
My feeling is that a state could ban any firearm it wants.
No, but would you agree with the policy? They don't have to. They could.
I think guns are cool. Fuck that.
So you're against Kamala Harris when she says assault weapons ban?
Yeah, fuck that. I like guns. I don't think it's a big enough issue. I think it's too divisive as an issue. I don't think banning assault weapons even matters much. Like on a policy level, I don't care. Like my opinions about guns hasn't changed at all. I just don't think the Second Amendment is anywhere near as strong or like solid of a foundation as it.
So the gun nuts shouldn't lose their shit at you. You're offering a legal argument, but you still want most guns to be legal and regulated somewhat.
Yeah, I mean there has to be some like reasonable regulations. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I just like guns, but
yeah, I mean you love guns.
I do love guns. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Hey, man.
Yeah.
You should get to bed.
Yeah, I should.
Really, really should. Affirmative action?
What about it?
For or against?
It's too broad of a term. There's probably some ways that I'm for it. There's probably some ways that I'm against it. It would just depend.
So you're against no Asians being allowed into schools?
I'm against no Asians being allowed into. Yeah, maybe.
I'm just messing.
Okay, yeah. You're talking about how if you have affirmative action, it necessarily hurts the people that are overqualified the most. Asian people are the most overqualified. So, of course, if you're for affirmative action, you're for discrimination against Asians. And that was the reason why those court cases are such a big deal for the colleges or whatever. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck Asians. Yeah. Got them.
You agree with the overturning? Probably.
I don't agree or disagree with any legal thing now until I've actually read the case.
Good answer. Good answer.
That's why I get so irritated now. Like when Andrew and everybody's like, "What do you think about Chaz?" Like, I don't know, bro. You're gonna have to give me the facts of Chaz, okay? Because I have. And he's like, "Well, people said that they wanted to rebel against the government." It's like, really? Who? It's like, I don't know. People. It's like, okay, you have no idea. I don't have any idea. So let's not even talk about this.
Give you the cheat codes. These are the cheat codes, okay? If you need to really lean on public purpose and intent, all right? So the intention to like do something for a particular reason, that can get you out of a lot of these trouble from hypothetical. So the example with the marijuana users, right? So a bunch of people go to the marijuana rally or whatever in front of the Capitol building. They start smoking pot, and two people start to get rowdy. Well, no, they would need to be getting rowdy for the purpose of this public purpose and to hinder or execute the Constitution of the United States or a law made pursuant to it. And so it would not be enough for them just to be violent. And also you never said that therefore everyone there becomes insurrectionists.
Well,
it just means that there was
I didn't for that argument, but I think I would. I think I would make that argument.
No. I don't think you should.
I think I would. Absolutely.
Every person, in order to engage in insurrection, needs to have intentionality.
I agree. However, and I think this was in part of that paper, if you're part of it, even if you're not 100% engaged in the insurrection itself, but you're there supporting it, aiding and abetting or assisting in an insurrection is the same as being a part of an insurrection. And what I would do if I had a debate on this, and maybe I will go through the whole fucking fact pattern, is I would just point to every single time Donald Trump told people the election was being stolen, we need to stop the steal. Here's the speech where he says we need to fight like hell, we need to stop the steal, we need Mike Pence to do the right thing. People marching down with signs saying 1776, which is celebrating an insurrection, people in the crowd that are cheering for Mike Pence and then saying, hang Mike Pence, and all these, I would say there's obvious intent. It is obviously clear. If you look at this, that the intention of this is to contravene a federal law. This is obviously,
that's a factual question, right? The one you just pointed to is like there, I think everyone there had that intent to help the insurrection and to support it somehow. That's an easy factual question. But imagine that like there weren't those statements. They were there for the marijuana protest. Everyone's there, right? They're smoking their pot.
In that case, no, I wouldn't know. I wouldn't say to these people. Yeah,
because they didn't have the intention to assist those people or to help. So not everyone there is engaging. And even for the two people who are using violence, you need to prove that, they're not just getting violent because a police pushed them. They're not just getting violent because they're drunk. They're not just getting violent because someone got too close to them. You have to be able to prove that they're doing it for the purpose, the public purpose of, either stopping the law from being implemented, or like, I don't know, overturning the government. Any of those would be fine public purposes, but you need to show that intent. And that's a powerful element that's going to separate a lot of these cases. Another example is like the White House, quote unquote, insurrection that they say. Well, there, you do have violence occurring. There are people attacking cops. What is the purpose of people attacking cops? Is it to hinder or prevent the execution of the United States Constitution or a law made pursuant to it? No, people were attacking cops all over the country, right? Attacking cops, and you need to prove that now, if they were attacking those cops in order to go to the White House and intimidate the president, or they were doing so in order to occupy the the Treasury building, I would say, yeah, that probably for the purpose of, enacting some political measure, that I would say probably would be an insurrection. I called, by the way, the Columbia protesters. Remember the Columbia protesters?
The ones that like took refuge in the library or some bullshit
Yes.
and yeah.
I think that to the extent, imagine that situation, right, were public property. I know that Columbia is a private university, but suppose that it were a public university.
Sure.
If you did that for the purpose of Israel, I would call that an insurrection. You're using violence and threat of force for a public purpose. I would call that insurrection. Now, just because we call something an insurrection doesn't mean we either A, say it's the worst thing in the world, or B, say that there's particular consequences to it. So if the kids were not previous oath takers, they're not going to be disqualified. If it's not a federal thing, they're not going to be disqualified either. And so there can be insurrections that are kind of mini and they're like, whatever, it's not a humongous deal. We can absolutely have shades of gray, just like with riots. Some riots are really good, some riots are really bad. Some riots are, they're bad, but they're not as bad, right? It's the insurrection in that context that makes it up the intensity. The reason why that insurrection is so horrible is because it dealt with a transfer of power, and we can absolutely
and it was cheer-led by the United
separate
States.
Insurrection. So you shouldn't feel fearful of applying the definition honestly, because you can make distinctions between insurrections to the extent that you're worried about bad consequences. A lot of these jurisdictional issues are going to help you, like the federal hook, and that intent requirement is it's much more powerful than you think. And so you should not feel a lack of confidence. These examples they provide, some are on the margin for sure, but most of them are dog shit. And not most of the BLM was insurrection. There were some insurrections. I would say Chaz, obviously an insurrection against the state, and to the extent there were federal, buildings there, it maybe even to the United States government. 100% easy thing to concede.
Maybe. The thing is because I don't have the fact pattern, right? Like I could easily spin some examples where it wasn't at all. Like what if it was the case that the mayor said, hey, these people are like having this protest. We're just going to go ahead and voluntarily pull the cops out. And, we're going to let you guys like simmer down for a couple weeks. And the people were like, okay, well, now that the cops are gone, we're going to do like a community building policing bullshit or blah, blah, right? I can imagine if somebody's like, I don't know, would this be an insurrection or not? Maybe, maybe not. But if there were like strong statements made by the crowd where they're like, this is our territory. If the cops come here, we're going to take you guys out. You guys need to change the way that you're dealing with people, blah, 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 whatever. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, this is obviously an insurrection.
Yes.
Maybe even against the federal government, right? Yeah, sure.
Here's another distinction, right? Purely legal actions, things that are expressly legal, either like you said, through the consent of the government, right? It's not illegal for a government to say, hey, this is your space to rage. This is or we're going to have, what's that movie where shit goes down for a day?
The Purge. Can I ask you a quick question on this? Actually, I'm so curious. Okay. So criminal conspiracy can incorporate elements that are legal, right? Like we get a conspiracy to go kill somebody. I could say we go to buy the bat. I give you the bat. You go kill them, right? Can bail be considered ever part of a criminal conspiracy? Let's say that you say, I want to go kill somebody. And I'm like, okay, you go kill him and then I'll bail you out afterwards. Could I be held liable for that? Like, would I like felony murder or something?
I think the answer is yes. And so I'm going to give you an example. And I am going to incorporate eventually the absolute immunity case, because there was a very interesting hypothetical that I came up with, I think, that we can use for that. So number one, let's say that you come to a conspiracy is a meeting of the minds. Okay. Sure. So it's a thought crime. We both had an agreement. Now, practically, because it's a thought crime, we require there to be overt acts or some other kind of way in which the conspiracy is manifested in the real world. So for example, you gave a purely legal action, buying a bat.
Yeah.
But if you buy it and you can prove that it was for the purpose of furthering the conspiracy, or was, and you can prove the existence of that conspiracy, then you're not criminalizing the buying of the bat. You're criminalizing the thought crime. You're criminalizing the conspiracy. And the overt acts are just requirements that we impose on conspiracy, so it's not just all feels, and it's not right. So
you don't want to have just thought crimes,
concrete enough, right? Yeah. So let me use the presidential example. Suppose that the president, there's also such a thing as accomplice liability, right?
Well, let's say I can give an example. Let's say hypothetically, let's say the president was having some type of like a rally. And let's say that he saw fighting in the back, and the president said, if one of you guys beats that guy's up, if you beat that guy up, I'll buy you a lawyer.
Yeah, right. So like if you could show, that's encouragement, right? That's encouragement. And encouragement is typically with the intent to make that thing happen. That's typically going to be enough for accomplice liability. There have been cases, famous ones, anyone who's in law school knows, that people like shouting, yeah, go do it, kill him. That encouragement, aid, you can be charged even with the same level of offense there. Okay. And so what matters is the intent, right? If I am Kamala Harris and I'm bailing people out for the purpose that they continue crimes, right? If I bail someone out so that they go kill someone, and it's written down, right? I write a memorandum saying I am bailing him out because I want him to kill him. I know and understand that if I bail him out, this is the result of what's going to happen.
Although, and to be fair, we wouldn't need it to be written down, but it has to be expressed somewhere, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to make the evidence so blatant, right? Then I do think that like even a legal act, an unquestionably legal act, could be a source of liability. The immunity decision is like, what if it's a pardon, right? What if the method by which I got someone to kill someone, let's say that I'm pardoning El Chapo because I know El Chapo's going to kill Mr. Muin, and I do it for the explicit purpose, just like in my Kamala Harris example. If I do that under the immunity doctrine, I would be absolutely immune for that conduct, right? That you can't question why I did the pardon. And so the pardon itself, even though I had and that's how you know, for example, that criminal intent is not a way to distinguish some of these hypotheticals for the absolute immunity doctrine, because you can give an example where there is clear criminal intent, murderous intent, but I pardon someone and through that use of pardon with the intent to kill someone, and I can't be charged for that because I can't have that to be the way I rendered aid.
Yeah, you can't have criminal conspiracy with only one leg if you haven't done an illegal act. So the president goes up to somebody and says, "Hey, listen, go kill that dude, and if you go kill that guy, like or whatever, like I can give you a pardon or some bullshit. Or wouldn't it be funny if you did this, and I'll pardon you or whatever." I don't know if just the state, assuming that it wasn't as like insightful, you can never actually deal with the second part towards that, the pardoning or whatever.
That might be a closer case because there maybe like you can introduce the offer or something, I guess, but unless it's like a government official or something. But if there's no like you don't need communication for accomplice liability. If you're just doing something for the purpose of helping and aiding that crime, that should be enough for accomplice liability, right? And so in that situation where you're pardoning someone or you're letting someone go for the purpose of them helping someone else die,
or even like clear, if let's say somebody kills a Democrat, just some crazy dude, and the president pardons him, and then he goes and kills another Democrat, and the president he could just keep pardoning him over and over again.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Assuming that it's a federal crime murder, is that right?
Yeah, and it's like,
yeah, bro. It's a wild and wacky world out there, brother.
Too bad it doesn't matter. We don't have to worry about it anymore because now our next president's gonna be Queen Kamala. So all of the uncomfortable constitutional crises that we're gonna be in, if President Trump is being convicted by states and attacked by his own DOJ, we don't have to worry about
Zoomers. Where are my Zoomers? If you're a Zoomer, put a Pepe.
They're sleeping.
Zoomers?
There are no Zoomers.
No, they're awake. They're aware. Awake. Zoomers. Okay, Zoomers, listen to me. Listen to my voice. If you do the craziest, funniest thing and elect the first female president of the United States,
female black
you
president.
will have,
oh my God,
3 wacky new Supreme Court justices. You will have 3 new wacky Supreme Court justices. And your lives, think about it. If you don't do this, you're going to be stuck with like the craziest conservative majority for most of the rest of your natural life. So do the wackiest thing ever and vote for Harris. Last thing, I'm gonna leave because I know you have to go to bed. Bro, just bite some of these bullets. It's okay.
For what?
For insurrection.
I generally will.
Yeah, I know you will.
Yeah, I think I do. I think I did. I think when he tried to push me one at the end, it was like, would you consider this an insurrection? And I was like, yeah, I would. I mean, like if Kamala Harris was doing this, I think I'd want to consider it insurrection, wouldn't you, or whatever? Yeah, I'm biting bullets.
Yeah, bro. All right, Mang. Have a wonderful night, and hey, stay cool.
Okay, be careful, baby.
Yeah, bye.
Talk to Kat Brodsky. Who the fuck is that? Guys, I gotta sleep. What the fuck? What is this?
I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years.
Oh, wait, one more thing. One more thing. You there?
What?
Election party.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about having an election stream. Like if I invite like you
in
Jeff,
person.
Yeah.
Election stream.
Yeah, you, Josiah, I, and then other people maybe if we can find. Yeah. Yeah. I think.
Can I have a +1?
Sure.
All right. Later, guys.
Bye. Kat Brodsky emailed you. Oh, I think I saw this, but why did I saw this and I was like, fuck me. What would we? I don't even know what we would talk about. What did this person? Oh wait. Oh wait, I think I was mixing her with somebody else. Wait, who did I think she was? There's some. I think there's some Melanie person that I thought this was. Oh fuck. Okay. Good, Cal. Okay, I shouldn't have deleted this email. My bad. Who? I don't know. There's some fucking retard on Twitter called fuck, who is this? It's like some Melanie person. They just look. God, every time I see a tweet, I might have actually blocked them. Every single time I saw a tweet from this person, which is the dumbest fucking tweet in the world. I don't even remember what their name was. What is this?
And vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote. Just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote. I don't care.
I want to be like, he's just saying that, like, who cares what happens in 4 years? Or, like, the country's going to be so great after 4 years, it doesn't matter. But I don't... He says it so many times. I don't understand what he means there. What is the... There must be... Maybe he means like in 4 years, there's not going to be so much voter fraud that you won't have to be so steadfast about voting. Maybe. Well, can somebody link me this full speech? Oh, yeah, that person, Melanie Mack. Is this person fucking retarded? I feel like I've seen stupid fucking tweets from this person. Oh, yeah, okay. I open the tweet and the very first thing I say is woke ideology is satanic, all of it. The queer stuff, drag queens, gluttony, glorification, etc. I've been saying this right in front of our faces. Yeah, I'm good. An hour speech, bro? Fuck this.
The USA. A failed vice president and a failed administration with millions of people crossing, and she was the border czar. Now they're trying to say she never was the border czar. She had nothing to do with the border. She was the border czar. They're trying...
Okay, I'm good. Clipped to important parts.
We're going to be talking a little bit about a wonderful thing called religion tonight. Is that okay? A little bit more than normal, and that's good. That's really good. And with your vote, I will defend religious liberty in all of its forms. I will protect Christians in our schools, in our military, in our government, in our workplaces, in our hospitals, and in our public square. And I will also protect other religions. We want that, right? Other religions. And we will bring our country back together, one nation under God. And by the way, Christians have to vote. You know, I don't want to scold you, but you know that Christians do not vote proportionately. They don't vote like they should. They're not big voters. You know who else aren't voters? The NRA endorsed me very powerfully. Strongest endorsement they can give, National Rifle Association. People that own guns and rifles, or not big voters. They have to vote. If you don't vote, we're not going to win the election. If you do vote, we're going to win in a landslide. Too big to rig, we're going to win in a landslide. Christians are a group that's known not to vote very much. You have to go out, at least this election. Just give us in, get us into that beautiful White House. Vote for your congressmen and women. Vote for your senators. We will change this country for the better. This country will be great again like never before. You got to vote. Vote early, vote absentee, vote on election day. I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Well, wait, I don't think that really helps it very much. Wait, what?
We're going to be talking a little.
Unless he means like, who cares who you vote for after me? Because at that point, I don't give a fuck. I don't know. It's probably just him being retarded. I don't know what else to say. Okay. Have fun. Right, cappuccino, 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 cappuccino. Catch you guys tomorrow, Reno. Be careful.